Let's do it. How to become a millionaire by age.
Brian, I am so excited about this show because our brains are very, very unique things. Did you know, Brian, that most adults have an attention span of about 20 minutes? And unfortunately, that's actually decreased by about 12 minutes over the past decade. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea. That's a 40% loss, though. That's a pretty big deal.
A big drop. What about this? You have an average of 70,000 thoughts per day. And you may say, okay, well, what about when I'm sleeping? Then my brain takes a break. Not so fast. Did you know that dreaming actually takes more brain activity than when you're awake?
I had no idea.
Brain super on, hyper overactive. What about this one? And this one we did specifically for you. Left-handed people have better memories. This is due to the corpus callosum in lefties being larger than it is in the right-handed peers. So
I always felt like things were getting tight up there.
Elephant never forgets, right? What about this one, Brian? Over a lifetime, the modern human brain can hold up to 1 quadrillion, that's 1 followed by 15 zeros, pieces of information. So there's a lot of stuff up in your brain. However, your short-term memory can only hold up to 7 pieces of information, and usually only for about 20 seconds. And now there's even been some recent research that's gone into this, that it's not actually 7 pieces of information, it's really probably closer to 3 to 4. Do you believe me?
So this actually makes sense because I know when I go to conferences or I sit in anything where I'm supposed to pay attention, make notes, I really try to figure out there are 3 discernible things that I can actually, actionable things I can take away from this event. Well, we wanted to we've done how to create millions by age before, but we were like, let's actually take the research that Bo just covered on the brain. How do we turn this into 3 actionable things everyone should do by each decade, and then give the numbers as that 4th element that people will hopefully remember?
So if you're in your 20s, right, and this is the way we thought about approaching this. If you're in your 20s and you want to become a millionaire, what are the 3 or 4 things that you need to know, that you have to hone in on to make sure that you're setting yourself up for long-term success?
So let's jump right into this. The first thing, the most powerful thing, is you've got to understand how compounding interest works.
Yeah, I think it was Benjamin Franklin, because he's the one who said it all. He says that compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. It is this amazing, unbelievable, powerful mechanism that can literally be the wind in your sails to building wealth.
But the thing is, when you're in your 20s, you have to figure out if it going to work for you and actually be your army of dollars that's working harder than you can with your back, your brains, and your hands, or is it going to work against you because you go out there and fake your lifestyle by building up debt that you truly can't afford.
And so we have to reframe the way that our minds work. We've already talked about how unique the brain is. Well, most folks, when they think about growth, specifically dollar growth, they kind of think on linear terms. Okay, if I have $500 today, okay, maybe I'll have 1,000 by age 30, and that 1,000 will turn into 1,500, and that 1,500 will turn into 2,000, that 2,000 will turn into 2,500. And that sounds exciting to think about $500 turning into 2,500. But in reality, when it comes to compounding interest, the movement is not linear.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, this is a big thing. People don't understand that your money actually builds upon itself. This is the power of compounding interest, is you need to not think linear. You need to think exponential. So that's why if you can just stay the course, set it and forget it for the first 10 years of investing, I think you'll be shocked at how big your assets will grow in a compounding way.
Yeah, think about how different it is. Thinking about $500 on a linear term turning into $2,500 versus $500, if you assume a compounded 10% rate of return, turning into almost $30,000. It is an entirely different picture altogether.
I want to move on to the second thing that I think 20-somethings ought to know if you want to be a millionaire. You just need to do something. So we went ahead and borrowed the Nike slogan and said, just do it. A little goes a long way. I know in your 20s, you're broke. You don't feel like you have a lot of resources sitting around. That's okay, because if you can just take a little bit of today, you really will have that great, big, beautiful tomorrow in the future.
In your 20s, the most valuable asset that you have is your time. And because you have so much time, it only takes a little bit of money to do something pretty spectacular. And if you don't believe us, go to moneyguide.com/resources and download our wealth multiplier. It will literally show you what every dollar you have can turn into by the time you get to retirement. If you wonder why we have these koozies that says this $1 beer can turn into, it cost me $88, is because that $1 at age 20 can turn into $88 by the time you get to age 65.
Yeah, I think once you know what money can become, you'll think differently not only about how you invest your money, but also how you spend your money. Because you'll realize, hey, everything that leaves my pocket or everything that leaves my bank account has the potential to be so much more, so I need to be very serious about how I allocate my resources.
And so then the third thing I would tell someone in their 20s, if you want to think about how to become a millionaire, is to invest in yourself. Now, immediately in the world in which we live, what people hear is, oh, that means I got to go get an advanced degree, I got to go back to school, I got to go rack up student loan debt, and I've heard student loan debt is not bad. That is not necessarily what we mean when we say invest in yourself. What we mean is figure out how to make yourself an expert and continue to be a lifetime learner that hones your craft and your skills in your profession.
And don't get us wrong, you very well might need to go to college. We just want you to be very deliberate, make sure you have a return on investment with whatever you invest in yourself. But the biggest goal here is to make sure you set yourself up to get the best income for your skill set, your knowledge. And that's why when we talk about ROI on education, we actually set up a rule for you guys. Here's the general rule, is that you want to make sure that whatever your student loan debt is coming out of college is less than what the first year anticipated income will be. If you can do that, I think you'll keep yourself where the debt is digestible and you can actually pay it off versus feeling like it's sitting on your shoulders for years upon years.
Because I think a lot of us operate under the assumption that, okay, if I go to college and I get this degree, just getting the degree automatically means I'm going to have a job and that job is going to pay me well for the rest of my life. Well, unfortunately, what the statistics suggest is that 44% of job seekers with degrees actually regret their field of study. They say, man, if I could do it all over again, I might not have even pursued that degree, gone into that field of study. I would have looked at something different.
Well, and it gets worse than that, is that 27% of graduates work in their field of study. If you do the reverse math on that, you quickly see that we're right around 67%, actually 73%. Sorry, I inverted the six there. 73% of people do not even work in their field of study. Be serious about the decisions and the choices you're making.
So if you are going to invest in yourself, make sure you understand what it is you are investing in and that it makes sense over the long term. All right, Brian, so let's talk about the fourth thing, and this is the exciting one. If you want to be a millionaire in your 20s, you got to know your millionaire math. You got to know what is actually required for you to become a millionaire by the time you get to retirement.
Let's jump into the numbers here. First of all, this is pretty exciting stuff. This is what got me, I call it the Morrow moment.
Mr. Morrow moment.
Yeah, because if you think about it, for a 20-year-old, if you want to be a millionaire, all you have to do is set up $95 a month.
That's amazing.
Or maybe you worked in high school and you started saving, you have that custodial Roth IRA. If you want to start, not add a dime to it, $11,318 will get it done.
That's crazy. For a 20-year-old, I'm going to say this again, $11,000 saved up as a 20-year-old will turn into $1 million by retirement without saving another dime, another dollar.
Power of compounding growth. I'm telling you, it can work for you. 25-year-old, $184 a month, $22,708. 29-year-old, $302 a month, or $38,249. Still all very doable. Get to work.
So maybe you're saying, but guys, I'm not 20, or I'm not 25, or I'm not 29. If you want to know exactly how much you should have right now to be on track to be a millionaire, we actually have a deliverable called Are You On Track to Be a Millionaire? You can go to moneyguy.com/resources, go download this absolutely free deliverable and see how much you should have saved today to be on your way to millionaire status.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about 30-somethings. Guys, when you're 30-somethings, if I could only give you 3 to 4 pieces of advice to and take super serious, the first one is let's make wealth automatic and completely inevitable.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you can set yourself up for success, the things that you do will protect you from falling into the trap of the things that you don't do. And one of the best ways that you can master this is understanding deferred gratification. I would care more about what's going to happen to me tomorrow than what I get to experience and what I get to have right now today.
Well, and this is not an easy thing. I think with a lot of people, instant gratifications are default. We get caught in this present bias where if you go get a donut, that donut tastes really good. I mean, and you don't have to worry about what does that mean in the future, because if you eat donuts constantly, obviously it's not going to turn out in the long term. Meanwhile, when you make deferred gratification decisions, is by my own, I admit this to you guys, when you start investing, you really do need to set it and forget it for like 10 years before you really get to see how the stacking upon itself feature works. That's hard. So here's what when something's hard like that, you need to create habits. And this is something we talk about, is you got to make the good habits easy, and you got to make the bad habits hard. And one of the first things you can do to make the good habits easy, a good habit is setting up automatic wealth building. Guess what? There's some things that immediately come to mind. Your employer's plan, your 401k, get that match money. It also takes a percentage of your income that's just automatically going to go in every month. That is making a good habit very easy.
Another thing that you can do is you can follow the financial order of operations. Brian, you have the deliverable. If you
let me do it right here.
If you go to moneyguy.com/resources, download the food. This will actually walk you through the 9 tried and true steps of what to do with your dollars to make those habits easy, make those good habits easy and reinforceable. So not only are you doing the things like getting the employer match, but you're also making sure you have an emergency fund in place. You're going to get all of your tax-free dollars working in your Roth IRAs and your HSAs. If you can set those on autopilot, you will be amazed at how quickly your financial ship starts building.
And then we'll close this one out with, I want to make the bad habits hard. How do we do this? Is that one of the first things, if money's in your pocket or money's just sitting in your bank account and it's not accounted for, it has a tendency just to slip out or kind of leak out, as we like to say. What I'd rather you do is to be very deliberate. So I create a system called forced scarcity. When you get pay raises, I want you to take the 60-40 challenge, meaning that what you'll do is your after-tax pay raise, whatever comes out, I want 60% to be allocated towards increasing your monthly investments, and then I want 40% to be left for lifestyle increases. If you can do this, you can practice this forced scarcity, it will allocate your money in a very healthy way. Once again, making the good habit very easy, but it also restricts the leakage of your money because every dollar will have a purpose.
Now, we know that the 30s is a hard time. So we talk about, okay, let's make wealth automatic. Let's make it inevitable. But it's hard, it's difficult. This is the stage in life where we get pulled in 1,000 different directions by 1,000 different things. And so one of the disciplines you have to master here is not letting short-term worry, short-term obstacles, short-term problems cause you to implement permanent solutions that will ultimately lead to permanent problems.
Yeah, I think when we talk about short-term problems, these are things like you're in the messy middle, as you described, where you're trying to figure out how do you pay for, daycare for the kids, or how do you save up for the car or even that first home purchase. Those are big, heavy decisions, but they're decisions that will only be something that you're struggling through for this short period of time. What we don't want you to do is to have a short-term problem that you put a permanent solution like lowering your monthly savings and investment plan or robbing out your pulling out of your Roth IRA. Those type of things might seem like an easy solution at the time that can solve this problem, but they actually are robbing yourself, creating a permanent problem for your long-term financial health.
So you have to make sure you stay disciplined in doing that, and you don't use artificial bridges to try to cover that up. You have to make sure that in your 30s, if you really want to work towards millionaire status, you need to be scared of debt. Now, debt can be a tool, and it can be something that you use, and it can be something that you can utilize, but just like a chainsaw, if used improperly or used carelessly, it can cut you off at the knees.
Yeah, I like using the chainsaw as a great example because I know we all can think about going to any type of scary house or haunted house where they're cranking up, they take the chains off, of course, but they sit there and rev them up and you're scared to death when somebody comes around with a chainsaw. If you are using debt and you're not scared, you're using it wrong. So that's why credit card debt, let me tell you, we are one of those financial channels where we actually don't have a problem with using credit cards.
We both use credit cards.
Because we'd be wrong. We eat our own cooking. We actually practice what we preach. We'd be hypocrites if we told you don't use credit cards and then we're out there whipping out the plastic all the time. So here's what we tell you. Credit card use is okay. But credit card debt, no way. That's where you've got to stay away. If you're not paying it off every month, you are blowing it, because if you want to turn compounding interest from friend to foe, don't pay off your credit card monthly.
How about this? How about auto loans? You know that here we love the 23-8 rule. When it comes to buying a car, we want you to put 20% down. We don't want you to finance it for any more than 36 months or 3 years, and all of your auto loan payments cannot exceed 8% of your monthly gross income. Now, that's true of normal cars. If you're moving into luxury brands, if you're buying a BMW or Mercedes, a brand like that, we want you to pay it off in 1 year. 23-8 does not apply. And the most important part of auto loan purchasing is that you must make sure your monthly investments, the amount that you are putting in your investment accounts to grow for the future, is greater than your car payment. If you're saving $200 a month and you have a $1,000 car payment, you are doing it wrong.
Yeah, you know what I love about these rules, Bo, is we also have some new deliverables on this, with car buying as well as housing, because that is the money guy rule. The next one I want to talk about is housing. And this one's a hot topic right now because interest rates are way up. So this is even more important when you're making these decisions. You do need to make sure this is a long-term decision. We've got 5 to 7 years, meaning this is not something if you think you're going to change jobs, be relocated, or you just not sure you want to, maybe your life situation with, you're going to get married or you're going to have additional children. If you can't lock into this decision for 5 to 7 years, you're not doing it right. We also want to make sure on house upgrades, you're going to need, meaning you're living in a house currently, but you want to upgrade to a nicer house. That's a 20% down payment. That's pretty standard. What I will tell you, we're kind of unique on. First-time home purchases, we're okay if you only have to put down 3 to 5%. Sure. We give you a little flexibility, but then cash flow-wise, please keep your housing costs. I'm talking about the principal and interest. I'm talking about the property taxes and insurance. Try to keep those below 25% of your gross income, because we want you to be life rich, not house rich, life poor. There's a disconnect there. And I know this is hard with interest rates being as high as they are, but it is one of those things where I think if you'll really work through this, you will make sure that you leave enough margin in your life that you can have housing, but also live the life where you can save for the future.
And the more you can keep yourself inside these guardrails and set yourself up for inevitable wealth in the 30s, the more that yourself in your 40s and 50s and 60s will thank you. So now let's talk about our millionaire math. If you are someone who is in your 30s and you're just now figuring this out, you're just now starting to save, and you want to reach $1 million status by the time you get to 65, for a 30-year-old, you need to be saving $340 a month, or you need to have already accumulated at this point a little over $43,000. By the time you get to 35, if you're starting at zero, you need to either start saving $600 a month, or you need to have almost $79,000 saved up. And by the time you get to the end of your 30s, 39 years of age, if you're just now starting out, you need to save about $943 a month to reach millionaire status, or you need to make sure that you've been saving and you've accumulated at least $122,000.
Now, I'm going to go into extra credit territory here for the financial mutants. I know that $43,000 for the 30-year-old, the $79,000 for the 35, and the $123,000 for the 39-year-old are what you have to have and not add a dollar to it to reach millionaire. But a lot of you financial mutants, I would challenge you, do a spot check. See where you are based upon your age. We did it in the content meeting. Yep. You yelled out a number. Brian, are you at this? So do the same thing for yourself. I know that has extra credit because this is just to get you to $1 million, but we know we want to get you to 2, maybe even 3 million. It's nothing wrong with going ahead and doing a spot check and then challenging yourself to go even beyond.
So if you're someone in your 30s and we know where you are you on track, go to moneyguy.com/resources, download our free deliverable, Are You On Track to Be a Millionaire? If you want to make sure that your friends are also on track, send them a copy of it. Email them. Tell them to go download and say, hey guys, I'm on track to be financially independent. Are you as well? Use this as a tool to spread the good news of sound financial decision making, even in a decade when life is really, really, really difficult.
All right, let's get to my favorite decade, the 40-somethings. This is the decade where, look, you've been at it for a while. You're no longer in your 20s or 30s. Those are Captain Obvious statements. But here's what you do need to know. look at your GPS. Are you ahead of the curve? Are you behind the curve? Are you right where you're supposed to be? You'll never know unless you take the opportunity to kind of look around and take a measurement.
And so one of the questions we get asked all the time is, okay, I hear you guys. You say, I need to know if I'm ahead or behind or on the curve. How on earth can I know where the curve is? We actually built a course for you that you can use. We call it the Know Your Number course. You can go learn about it at learn.moneyguide.com, where you can basically say, okay, if I want to have this standard of living and I want to make these inflation assumptions and these rate of return assumptions, and I'm going to be saving this much, this is how much I need to be able to live the life that I want to live when I want to live it on my terms. Well, then you can play with it. Say, okay, well, what if I save a little bit more? Do I do it faster? Or what if I'm not on track? How much more do I need to save to be able to do that? So if you've not spot checked yourself, if you've not done your GPS test, go to learn.moneyguide.com and check out the Know Your Number course.
This next one, this one sounds like a touchy-feely or soft type goal. And I know a lot of our audience is very analytical, but it's very important. You got to know your why. And here's what I mean by this: is in your 40s, this is the decade of the midlife crisis. This is all, so a lot of people are going to realize they are behind, or some are going to realize they're ahead. But this is also, I want to challenge you. This is the decade that your kids are probably getting close to the point that they might be leaving the nest, or at least going off to college. So I'm going to challenge you to kind of focus on what's important, what brings you happiness, what do you truly enjoy in spending money on. And then I want you to take a memory legacy challenge where you start thinking about, hey, I know I don't get to take this money with me, but I do get to keep my memories and thoughts of trips and other special things I'm doing with my family. Take an inventory of that and make sure you know your why and all those things are lining up appropriately.
It's really interesting, Brian. You mentioned kids, and we know that from Dr. Stanley's book, The Millionaire Next Door, he talks about one of the traits of millionaires is that their adult children are financially independent. They're not counting on them for economic outpatient care. Well, it's really, really interesting. When you think about the life cycle with which we get to spend time with our kids, we spend a lot of time with our kids in our 30s and 40s as they're rearing or nearing adult age. Make sure that you're setting them up well for success. Make sure you're teaching them the things that they need to know so that when they do leave the house, when they do get out on their own, they're equipped to not continue to be a financial burden for you into the future.
Well, and also I think as we're looking at this point on knowing your why, is that hopefully you are now, you're not just working to pay the bills. You're working with a purpose. You really are getting to allocate your resources, your time, the way you want to live your life.
Yeah, that's a great segue, Brian. Are you making decisions now that will allow you to begin enjoying the fruits of your labor? Are you taking the things serious now that you need to take serious so that yourself 20 years from now, 30 years from now, can still enjoy this? I think, Brian, you had someone in your life who gave you some amazing advice.
I was in my mid to late 30s, and I was in a small group. And it was actually, I was in a small group with the pastor for my church, and he was in his mid 40s at the time. But he goes, guys, I got to go and tell you, when you get in your 40s, you can't take for granted that you can go run a quarter of a mile or half a mile or do anything physical unless you're actively working. And I'm now in my late 40s, so I'm well beyond this. But he was spot on, as I've had to make a very heavy decision that I'm going to exercise, I'm going to try to eat well, because every decision you make now definitely has a physical impact on my body. And I'm trying to create a legacy, not only financially, but also to make sure I can experience the fruit, the memories that come with that. So don't just take for granted that you're going to be healthy and everything's going to work out. Actually take an active role in keeping your physical health good as well.
I've tried to think about this and really drink this in, Brian, because I know it's not completely binary, but I try to go through this litmus test of all the decisions I make, whether it be around finances or health or anything else. Is the decision right now I'm making going to help me or harm me in the future? I'm either going to be moving towards my goals or moving further away from my goals. And you can do this exercise when it's going out and drinking and partying on the weekends. Is that moving me towards my ultimate goals or away from it? The way that I eat, is it moving me towards my goals or away from it? The way that I make consumption decisions, is it moving me towards my goals or away from them? And if you start focusing on this in your 40s, I do think that your 50 and 6-year-old self is going to be so thankful that you began making those life-changing decisions.
I would challenge you. Look, you go to counseling or anything, they're going to talk about that inner voice that's inside your head that while you're taking a shower, that's sitting there talking to you. I know I sound crazy, but we all have it if you're being honest with yourself. do exactly what Bo just said, but go ahead and train that internal voice and say, hey, when I wake up in the morning, what small incremental decision today am I doing that's going to maximize not only today, but that great big beautiful tomorrow? If you can think in those incremental terms and shape your inner voice, I think you'll be shocked at the movement you'll have in your life.
All right, Brian, let's talk about the millionaire math in the 40s. Again, remember, the goal is if I'm in my 40s, how do I tell if I'm on track to become a millionaire? Or if I want to keep saving, how do I add millions to that bucket? And this is what's really interesting. At age 40, if you've only accumulated $136,000 by 40, you have set yourself up that $136,000 will likely turn into $1 million by the time that you get to age 65. If you want to add another million to that, start saving $1,000 a month at age 40 to add another million to that. At 45, the sum you will need to have accumulated by age 45 to reach $1 million is $224,000. And then by the end of this decade, age 49, if you want to make sure that as a 49-year-old, you're on track to millionaire status, you need to have accumulated $322,000 by age 49.
Now, look, those numbers, this is the part where it seemed very easy. Obviously, 20-somethings, it was almost like, look, if you just quit eating fast food and coffee, you can be on your path to a millionaire with the cost savings. When you're saving over $1,000 a month, saving and investing over $1,000, that's a lot of money. So that's why I would encourage you. A lot of you are coming into this and watching this content not at zero. And that's what those numbers assume, is you're starting at zero. But there is going to be some hybrid approach where you take where you are currently with what you're saving, and you need to kind of marry those. And this is where I would encourage you in your 40s, because you go ahead and push the accelerator to save more, or if you're behind, just make sure you're taking inventory. It's back to that GPS. Please check out the Know Your Number course to kind of accelerate and know exactly where you are in this savings process.
And if you want a spot check, just to give you a little quick back of the napkin, go download at moneyguide.com/resources our deliverable. Are you on track to be a millionaire? And you can actually see at every age in your 40s, 41, 42, 43, 44, how much do I need to have saved? And every year, when you do your net worth statement, you can see, okay, where am I at this age? Am I on track? Am I where I need to be? And allow that to keep you accountable to keep making great financial decisions.
Bo, let's pivot and talk about people in the 50-plus era of their life. This is, if we're talking about how to become a millionaire, I think at this stage, you are very aware that financial independence is on the horizon. So you need to go ahead and make sure you've been cleared to land the airplane of your financial life.
Yeah, have you started flipping that mentality? I mean, all of us like to think about financial independence, and we like to think about the thing that we're getting away from. No more commute, no more 9 to 5, no more boss, no more coworkers, no more fill in the blank. But have you really spent time thinking through, what is this next phase actually going to look like? How am I going to spend my time? If I'm not working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, what am I doing with that time? How am I going to fill it? What are my hobbies going to be? Am I sure I'm even going to enjoy those hobbies? I'm amazed at all the people say, hey, you know what? I'm going to retire. I'm going to start playing all kinds of golf. And I always say, okay, well, great. Do you play golf now? No, never played around. I'm like, ooh, maybe you want to kind of test drive this a little bit to make sure it's actually something that you want to do. So people say, oh, I want to travel. I want to see the world. Well, have you ever gone on an international trip? No, never done it. Oh, maybe you want to make sure you actually understand what it is you're retiring to, not just what you're retiring from.
Well, also, everything you said there has a cost. Golf is not the cheapest thing in the world. Traveling is not the cheapest. So I want to make sure everybody is stress testing their plan to the life that they want to live, and make sure you're actually in a good place with that. We do this for all of our clients. We have several resources for you here. You could go to Know Your Number if you go to learn.moneyguy.com, or you could get to the point, because probably by your 50s, you are getting to the point where the resources are getting close to 7 figures. It'd be nice if you could measure twice, cut once, because you're on your first retirement. We've had many retirements. Let us help you kind of stress test, make sure you're on solid ground with your process and plan.
Now, another thing in your 50s, if you want to think about how to become a millionaire and how to stay a millionaire, if you've done that, is you got to have the awkward talks. You got to have those talks that maybe aren't the most comfortable in the world to think about. And we think that this should go both ways. You want to have the awkward talks with your kids around, hey, we're aging, we're getting older. These are our wishes. This is our estate plan. We've actually sat down and met with someone and said, hey, this is what we want to have happen with us for the rest of our life. And this is what we want to have happen to our money. And if you are the child, You have to have the awkward talk with your parents.
Oh, come on. But see, Bo, now here's the thing. I set this up to be a fun little thing because nobody wants to talk about death, end of life, all that transition. So I tried, because I actually resemble in getting close to these ages. So I said, hey, when we said awkward talks, I was picking and I was making fun of the fact that, look, when you have young children that are now turning, you have to have the birds and the bees. You have to have the birds and the bees. That's an awkward talk. I was making a joke out of the fact that you also, besides that awkward talk, you've got to have the awkward talk about, what's the next stage of life? What do I have? What are expectations? So make sure the communication is going back and forth. Way to play it solemn instead of giving me the edge to have a little fun so we can take the edge off of an awkward conversation.
Well, it's important because these are not easy conversations. These are not fun conversations. And it's difficult enough for us to think about having them with our children. It's also difficult to think about having them with our parents, but they matter. It's important to have those questions. Hey, Mom, Dad, I'm not asking because I'm waiting for my inheritance. Hey, what do you need from me? Have you thought about this? Have you made these plans? Have you been thinking through these things? Because the more well thought out the plan is, both ways, the more seamless and smooth the transition will be. It's always so heartbreaking when we see someone who says, hey, Mom and Dad, they were so private, they kept everything to themselves, and then something happened and it came out of nowhere, we weren't expecting it, and we have no idea what was going on. Dad, he knew the finances and he had everything figured out and he was great with money. But none of us have the roadmap. None of us know what his great plan was. That's a difficult thing for your loved ones to try to pick up the pieces on. So if you can have those conversations, you're likely going to set up your family and your heirs for better success long term.
Yeah, and not to keep belaboring the point, but also if there's any awkward, quirky things you're doing, like if you have all the family heirlooms in a closet, jacket in the closet, a winter coat that never gets worn anymore, please tell someone. Yeah. And then if you're hiding hundreds of thousands of dollars and the curtain rods in your house,
don't be doing that.
Please tell someone about that too, because we've actually seen this type of stuff, and that's why I would encourage you. Now, look, if you're the 50-something and you have a parent that's in their late 70s, early 80s. Go ahead and have those conversations, just like Bo said, because we have seen those type of things too, where if you're not questioning and asking things, you could see some really quirky things that are going on later in life.
And then the other thing that you should recognize in your 50s, if you really want to be a millionaire, you want to be a true financially independent millionaire, debt should be a memory. Yeah. It should be a thing of the past. You should even be thinking through, like, if you have kids and they have student loans, that should kind of be on them, because Brian, what is it you always say? You always say, you cannot be financially independent if you are financially encumbered. Those two don't go together.
Well, any type of debt is an obligation. It's an encumbrance, and you're trying to build financial independence. How can you say you are independent if you actually have something that's encumbering that freedom? So this is why I say you're not truly financially independent unless you don't owe anybody any money. And that's where I struggle in this higher interest rate environment, is because, I want to have my house completely paid off, but it's so hard with a 2.5% mortgage rate. So I'm now keeping the cash reserves, and then if rates ever go back down below, because I'm making like 5% on my cash, I will be walking away from all of my debt and saying goodbye forever.
All right, let's talk about our millionaire math, because in the 50s, this is really spot check land. So if you are 50 and you've accumulated at least $351,000, that would suggest that a conservative rate of return, you are likely on your way to millionaire status by the time you get to 65. By 55, you ought to have accumulated about $523,000. And by 59, if your goal is to be a millionaire by 65, you need to have almost $700,000 saved up. I still think that's incredible. $700,000 saved up by 59 can still turn into $1 million by 65. Just because you retire, just because you're approaching retirement, just because you cross that threshold into financial independence, doesn't mean your money stops working. Your money can still work for you, and it can work for you for the next 20, 30 years. It's just going to look a little bit different than what it was doing for your 20 and 30-year-old self.
This is an important thing, and I would encourage, we do have some free resources with Are You on Track to Be a Millionaire? You can go out to moneyguy.com/resources, but if you are in your 50s, you're probably at the point, we have our Know Your Number course and tool, of course, but I also think this is one you're probably really thinking, where am I at with this retirement? Can I land the airplane? Can I stress test? consider taking the relationship to the next level, because it would be worth it so you don't walk through this not knowing if this threshold is a healthy transition or if I really need to be playing catch up and making some hard decisions.
Being a millionaire is a fantastic goal. Now, it's really nothing more than a number. It's not anything special about being a millionaire. But reaching financial independence is a pretty exciting thing. And while it is incredibly simple to do it, it's not always easy. So that's why we want to walk through at each age and each stage, what are the big pieces of information you should hold on to? What are the things you should remind yourself on a daily or weekly or monthly or annual basis to make sure that you keep your eye on the prize, you keep your eyes on the goals you want to achieve, and not let yourself get off track?
So here is a big takeaway I took from today's show. We can only really keep up with 3 to 4 things. So I would encourage you, hey, look, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hook us up right now. Also, let us know down in the comments section, what are some of the big 3 takeaways you took from this show? And we just appreciate you guys being connected with us, guys, because we love creating content. We love showing you the numbers. We love kind of laying it out there so you can become the best version of yourself, the financial mutant, if you will, with everything that comes your way as a financial resource. I'm your host, Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen, Money Guy Team, out.